me, her, she cardiac arrest on motorway, and I couldn't get into the phone to ring whoever.
Course,
You know, that's the problem with them.
Oh my God, but you have the other phone anyway.
I have the other one, and there we are live.
Excellent, excellent. There's some of my crew at the window.
So, our view today, here I am with the inspirational Claire, and we have multiple dogs looking out the windows at us.
Barking, wondering why we're not going inside.
Yeah.
And wondering why they're not being taken for their walk yet. Anyway.
So, you were saying to me before, you've lost two since...
I've lost two since Christmas and a cat. One of them, she was only 9. She was a Pomeranian Chihuahua. Her name was Beanie.
Yeah.
She had a sarcoma tumour removed in the beginning of September. And the Wednesday week before Christmas, she got an upset tummy and I didn't like the look of it. Rang the vet. I couldn't get the vet that did the surgery and had been looking after her in September. And I got another girl and she prescribed low sac and mild painkiller, but I knew there was something else wrong. So I finally got the other vet on the Wednesday and she took her in and she said she looks a sick little lady. And I knew.
Yeah.
So that evening I knew I was told that it was in her liver and in her blood. But I got 3.5 good months out of her and she only had a 20% chance of surviving the surgery and she came back better than ever.
Brilliant.
She had a brilliant 3.5 months.
Brilliant.
And I was delighted. I went to all the trouble and the expense, but I would have paid the world to save her.
Yeah.
And even now to talk about her, it's awful because she did break my heart. But listen, she's buried at the end of the garden and she's in no pain or anything else. But I'm not ready to get to replace her yet.
Yeah,
So, no. And then we had a 17-year-old, what was she? She was a Jack Russell Terrier-ish. Yeah. And she had a mind of her own, as Jack Russells do. And we knew she was getting old. And 18 months ago, well, actually, it'll be 2 years in August, Pat, the vet in Raheny Veterinary Hospital, diagnosed a mass on her adrenal gland. So he just said, play it by ear, and we did. And she went off her food on the Tuesday night. She just wasn't herself on the Wednesday, and on the Thursday we knew it was her time. And you know, the vet had hardly got the catheter in her to put the solution to put her to sleep in when her heart stopped.
Right.
So it was definitely her time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as bad with her because she had a great life and she was also another rescue. She belonged to an elderly gentleman that went into a nursing home and she had to be put up for adopted. So we got her when she was about 2-ish.
Yeah.
And she was a man's dog. She absolutely idolised Noel. And when Noel sat down anywhere, if she could get under his skin, she would. She loved him. Yeah. So it did upset Noel an awful lot. But we've 6 left now. The cat, unfortunately, got some virus that's it's seemingly in North Dublin. I don't know the name of it, but it's a combination of excess fluid in the animals, in the cat's cavity, and there's nothing can reduce it. Okay. And then it just affects their lungs. And they resuscitated the cat, and the cat was only 4.
Yeah.
So we had 2 brothers, two rescue brothers that we got 4.5 years ago. So anyway, we had to get him put to sleep. So there was, as I say, 3 funerals at the end of the garden and 3 graves dug at the end of the garden since Christmas.
I haven't been with you since even before COVID, really.
That's right.
I haven't been here.
That's
so
right.
The last time I was here with you, you had the little fella who was just... You only had him for a short time. He had the little tartan coat on him and he just used to stand out on the deck. He died shortly after it. I think you'd only just rescued him.
Oh, he was a patient from the hospice.
From the hospice.
That's
he was
right,
gone,
yeah.
And
his owner was in the hospice.
He was 16 or he was very elderly.
He was a Shih Tzu.
Yes.
And that lady was a patient in the hospice and she had the dog in kennels because she had no one to rescue him or to foster him during her illness. She believed that she was only in there for pain management, but unfortunately she was in there for terminal care. So I said I'd take the dog, and she didn't want to see the dog again because she said it would be too upsetting.
Yeah.
So the dog really wasn't house trained and was kind of fed from the table, but was on a dose of medication for heart problems and everything else. So the kennels gave me all the medication, probably 6 months supply of medication, and I took the dog, and he became part of the clan. He mellowed in, no problem. The only thing was to try and house train him, and you know what they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
But anyway, he mellowed and he was great. And one evening I noticed his breathing was a bit laboured, and I'd given him all his medication. We used to give it to him in some cheese, and we thought he was okay. And the next morning I came down, and he was very, very thin, and we couldn't put on weight. So I think there was a lot of underlying problems there. So the next morning I woke at about 5:45 with him barking, and I went down, and he was flopped on the tiles and he couldn't move, and he had wet himself and soiled himself and everything. And I thought, oh, the poor little man. So I cleaned him up and gave him a bath and gave him some food, made him comfortable, and put him into a big furry bed, blow dried his hair, and he was fine once he got himself comfortable. But his breathing wasn't right. So I rang the vet and I got an emergency appointment. It was a Sunday morning, and I went up, and they said, yeah, it's his time, because he was about 16, 17 as well. His teeth were really bad, and so you could see it in him. But so I didn't get him buried in the garden because, well, he wasn't ours, if you like. So I got his collar and his coat and his lead, and I cleaned them all up. So when the lady passed away in the hospice, they were put in with her.
Oh, lovely.
So it was just a reminder.
Yeah,
that was it. But he was the second dog I adopted from the hospice. Another lady, she was going to daycare in St. Francis Hospice in Raheny, and she wouldn't come in, and she was very, very ill, and she wouldn't come into the hospice, and she had a kind of a strange family, but like everyone has different circumstances. And I was asked would I think about it, and I didn't even know what type of a dog it was. It could have been an Irish wolfhound. And I went down to see her, and my heart went out to her, and I knew she was really, really ill. And I told her, look, without any consultation anyway, I said, look, I'll take your dog. As I said, it could have been a Chihuahua or an Irish wolfhound. And I said, I'll bring him up to see you every day. So within 2 days it all happened, and this gorgeous little Babs, a little tubby little thing that was fed from the table and never had a walk or anything, no routine, came to the house. Again, not house trained. And the security guy in the hospice was really, really good, because I used to leave Babs in the afternoon, and he'd look after Babs, bring it down to the smoking area, because the lady was a very heavy smoker, and Babs would sit there with the lady. And then unfortunately the lady got really ill, and she was bedbound, and Babs would lie on her bed, and the lady, you could see she just idolised the dog. She had the hand out on the dog all the time. And then unfortunately she passed away, and 6 months to the day, John, the dog went into kidney failure.
Wow.
And passed away. But like they're not, and mine are very easy-going, because they know that we have a good routine with them. They're fed in the morning, they're let out to do their business. Their fresh water is changed 3 or 4 times a day. I bring them out then for a walk, and then Noel brings them out for a walk in the evening, and then we feed them chicken in the evening. They don't get any gunge. They get the odd treat, the natural treats, and that's it. But 2 of them now are therapy dogs. Lulu is 11 and a half. She's a Yorkie cross, and Holly she'll be 4 in September. She's still a trainee because she's afraid of her shadow. But Lulu's been coming in to the hospice with me every Tuesday afternoon for over 10 years, but that stopped last March, 12 months because of COVID. So they haven't been back to the hospice yet. Because all the volunteers' roles have changed.
Of course.
And there's so few of us back.
Everything is delayed because of COVID.
Absolutely, and you see, unfortunately we had an outbreak of COVID in Raheny. So, they're just totally so stringent about everything, you know. But at least, even the numbers, we used to be able to take 19 patients, and now we're down to 12, 13 because of social distancing and infection control. So everything is just, for everybody, life has changed totally.
No. I talk to you about dogs all day.
I know, sure, I'm the same, but you have to be a doggy person to understand.
I talk to you about dogs all day. I when you call me and you say, this needs to be done or this needs to be done, I just love going to dog houses.
And I'm always afraid when I ring someone, are you afraid of dogs? Are you sure? They won't touch you, I promise. But you see, you can't convince someone that they won't touch you when you hear 6 or 7 at the door. So, because some people have just got this fear, and you have to respect that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You do. But you have 2 dogs yourself.
I've two English Bull Terriers. I'm going to check that camera again, and then I'm going to not talk about dogs and ask you about you.
All right, okay.
It didn't work for me yesterday, and I'm real worried. Yeah, it's all working.
Perfect.
And the whippet in there, where did that come from? I'd never seen that before.
Last the end of August, this lady came to the house. She had phoned me a few times, and she said she was doing house checks for rescuers, and would I mind if I did I had said I would always love a retired greyhound, because of the cruelty attached to it. And she made the appointment, and she came, and she said to me, this is not a house or a home. She said, this is a dog's hotel. I said, I know. She could see all the dogs' beds lined up and the sofas covered with the various rugs. And she said, they have the life of Riley here. She said, definitely when I die, I want to come back here to 712. So I said, yeah, look, if you ever come across a retired greyhound, I know there's lots of them out there, but I suppose the fact that now I've been house checked makes it easier for me to get one. So out of the blue then, I got this phone call to say that there was this lurcher. Now, I knew a lurcher was a cross between a whippet and a greyhound, but I didn't know much about them. So I was told that mainly travellers breed them, and they normally breed them for hunting and for coursing. And of course that grated with me. Again, animal cruelty. So she said, look, there's this dog in Waterford. Ellie is her name because she's very elegant, and they called her Ellie. And she is 2, and she has been taken from the travellers because she has a lot of scars on her where she had been beaten and whipped. She wasn't doing what they wanted her to do. So I said, oh God, when can I go down? I want to see her. So within a week or 2 we went down to Waterford, and we had a look at Ellie, and sure, I fell in love with her immediately. Yeah,
she's gorgeous.
She was gorgeous. A bit wild, and you have to keep her under control, but she's still young. She's a very, very clean dog. We have her on a raw food diet. She needs tons of exercise, and once she gets her exercise, she's as good as gold. But if you don't walk her, or you don't give her a bit of attention, she's destructive. And she's a thief as far as food is concerned. You can't leave anything. The other night I made a tray of scones and went out to the clothesline or something to take out clothes or to take in clothes, I can't remember. Came back and they were all on the floor and they were half gone.
I suppose she's like us all. We need a bit of attention and a bit of love, or we're destructive.
That's it, that's it. But it's great, particularly during COVID, that it's getting us out, and we're doing more walking on the beach and down, just generally in the parks and that. I let her off. She's a brilliant recall. And she doesn't... excuse me, she doesn't go after all the other dogs or people or that. And
I love, with dogs, when I'm out with my dogs and I come across other doggy people, it's a great icebreaker, and you're meeting, especially nowadays, we need more human connection and talking, and people are terrified, whereas we forgot the basics of, hello, how are you, saying that to somebody, you're not going to catch COVID. You know,
No,
you need that
particularly,
human
yeah.
connection. You know,
Without a doubt, 100%. Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Oh, I think walking dogs is great
Yeah.
for meeting people. No matter what size dog or you have or anything else, you'll get talking. And they love to tell their story too.
no, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
so it's great. But anyway, you said you wanted to talk about me.
Yeah. So where did you grow up?
I grew up on Kilbarrack Road. I had one sister. I had two brilliant parents. My dad, unfortunately, left us 26 years ago. He was an amazing man. My mum, thankfully, is with us. She'll be 91 in August.
Brilliant.
And I look after her. I'm her main carer. My sister lives in France and has all her family living there. So my mum at the moment is quite needy because her mobility is gone, and she's very happy. She got really, really ill in January, and I really thought, my goodness, is this the end? And when it hits you like that, you get such a shock. But thankfully she got over it, but it has weakened her a lot. But she's very astute, very aware, and really, really happy in her own surroundings. The GP wanted to put her into hospital, and I said no. I said, whatever she's come through now, it wasn't COVID. What she had was a very bad UTI, and with antibiotics, and I stayed with her for 24/7 for 3.5 weeks, and she's great now. So I bring down her food every day, and then I called her again in the evening with her meds, and then she has 3 carers, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and then one in the evening. So, and then my son and my daughter are always in. So I grew up on Kilbarrack Road. My dad had a business in the city centre, and when we were old enough to go to secondary school, my sister and I moved from Scullagna here in Raheny, where we went, into Loretta, North Great Georgia Street, which was only a stone's throw really from my dad's shop. And we went there until finished, and I worked for a summer the year before my leaving cert in what was then the Dublin Savings Bank, and I loved it, and I loved the people that were there, and I loved the association that we had with people, and I think I was a people person.
Yes.
So they asked me to stay on, and everyone said no, go back and get your leaving cert and whatever. So I did, and then my aunt wanted me to go to college to do medicine, and that probably is the biggest regret, John, I have in life, that I didn't go and do that. But really, my parents couldn't afford it.
Yes.
Back then it was around £3,000 a term to go to the College of Surgeons, and it just wasn't possible. And I really didn't think it was fair, because they had struggled so much to pay their £86 a month mortgage, to get the business on its feet. My mum was a stay-at-home mum until we finished primary school, and I just couldn't do it. So anyway, I went back to the bank, and I did my various exams and progressed along the lines there, and ended up working for 38 years in the bank. So I took a redundancy package in 2013, and I have literally enjoyed life. Did a lot of travelling, took on more dogs.
Brilliant.
And I've been doing more and more work since COVID. Well, no, before COVID with the hospice. I was doing 1.5 day a week. Then I was doing 2 half days or 1.5 days. And then I got involved in fundraising for them. And I used to go to various events and, thank people for coming to the event, and also telling them the work of the hospice and the amazing work that we do, because I see it firsthand in there every Tuesday, and telling them really to dig deep into the pockets and the amount of people that we look after, because it really, really is a very, very special place.
Yeah.
And particularly the people that work there, they're just angels.
Yes.
And you can see it in the visitors' comments books. They're just the words. They're just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And everybody that comes in there has the height of praise, because nothing is too much for a patient when they come in. And they actually improve when they come in from the TLC and just the special care that they get. And then when their time is up, there's no pain, or it just happens very peacefully and softly. Of course, it's heartbreaking for everybody, even the staff, and particularly when you have younger people. But it's just the circle of life, unfortunately. And I've learned that over losing my dad and losing the dogs, which people might laugh about, but they are part of your family.
You know,
and you do feel that awful, wrenching grief that you go through when they die. So that's really what I've been doing over my, in a very short, I've 2 beautiful kids from my marriage, which ended after 10 years, and I'm with a wonderful man now for the last 20 years, Noel, and he's absolutely great with Mark and Joelle. But they're young, they're adults now, they're both in their 30s, and I'm very, very proud of both of them. And both of them, of course, are animal mad as well. Mark has 2 sisters that I rescued to go to a rescue centre, but I was going to America the next day, and I couldn't take them down to South Wicklow to the rescue centre because I collected them on a Wednesday evening and we were flying out on a Thursday morning. And I asked him would he mind them, and that this lady Elaine in the rescue centre would liaise with him in relation to collection. But sure, I came back 3 weeks later and Mark had fallen in love with Susie and Shirley, the 2 dogs. So they're his saving grace, because he has special needs, and they really have saved him unbelievably. And I think without them, I don't think Mark would be with us.
Dogs, before I got dogs, I always had dogs growing up, but now as I've learned more about ADD, ADHD, autism, Asperger's, and I've educated myself more on it, that I realise the integral role that dogs actually play in it.
100%.
Integral role, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm in awe and amazed when I look at them sometimes.
They have a 6th sense.
100%.
Don't they?
100%.
Because the dogs are trained as well for kids with epilepsy.
Yes.
And they know when a child, for example, is going to have an attack.
Yeah.
And they can alert, whoever is around that needs to be alerted to, or they can coax a child into a position where it's going to be safe during the attack. So they're and they, like, I can see Lulu now. We had a lovely little girl in the hospice. It's a good few years back. I think she was only about 12 or 13. A very, very unusual situation. We wouldn't normally have people under 18. But this little girl she was non-verbal, and Lulu used to sit on her knee and she just used to play with her ear. And you could see the peace and the happiness and the little smile on the girl's face. And then, unfortunately, she couldn't move, but she would still just put her hand on Lulu. And Lulu wouldn't really be a dog that would stay quiet and sit for too long. But Lulu just stayed quiet and kind of sensed that she was giving pleasure to somebody and that she wasn't to move. And funny, when somebody is at their really end of life in the hospice, Lulu won't go near them. Isn't it weird? So definitely they have a 6th sense. Holly would be different, as I say. She's still only a trainee. She'll sit and be quiet, but kind of keep an eye on me. Where are you? Don't you dare go out of my sight. But I would fully agree with you. And particularly, with children, the dogs relate so much. They really do.
My 2 especially are 2 cuddlers.
Are they?
So they just want to be on you, and with English Bull Terriers, they get a bad name, but they actually love us and love our kids more than they love themselves.
Really?
The dogs are, they just...
Yeah. And how are they with people?
No, they're fine with everyone.
Even if somebody strange knocked at the door, they bark, would
no, Rhonda doesn't bark. I find the odd time if there's a rustle out the back, and I'm not sure if her eyesight isn't great. But because her eyes are kind of at the side of her head instead of forwards, if something rustles out the back, she'll let a bark or maybe 2. But she isn't a consistent, but also they get walked a lot.
Great.
If they don't get walked a lot, they bark a bit more.
Of course they do. Of course
they do get walked a lot.
And it's good for us to get out and walk 100%. Them as well. Do they swim with you?
No, they hate water. Rhonda doesn't do water. if I walk her down at the wooden bridge, and you know the way you kind of walk on the side and she sees the water, she'll like pancake and I have to pick her up
really?
and carry her.
Yeah. As I always say, the brakes go on.
Yeah, she hates the water. Hates
really?
the water. Yeah, they're not water lovers.
And is that in their breed?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know about that. I think when she was younger, I had her in the River Boyne and stuff, and she likes her comfort. She likes to be wrapped up. She's like blankets.
I know, but they're rescues as well, aren't they?
One is. And
okay.
Rhonda I have from a puppy, I got her, but Dexter's a rescue, yeah.
Okay.
The older fella.
Yeah, what age is he?
He is about 11 now.
Right.
We're not sure, it's a year either side of his
Okay.
age.
Okay.
We can't get him because with his chip, we kind of know roughly when he was born, but they're not 100% sure.
Doesn't matter anyway, yeah. You normally, I think, know by their teeth as well.
Yes,
don't you?
yes.
Do you brush their teeth?
I do.
Great.
I brush
And what
their
do you
teeth.
use?
It's like the chum stuff that we get out of carnivore Kellys. So I give them chubs, and we give them a little chum that brushes their teeth
that
as
brushes
well.
their teeth.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
It's like an anchovy type fishy
flavour,
thing.
yeah, it's a smelly taste anyway. Yeah, great,
They seem
great.
to like it.
Yeah, she's very good now, Ellie, the lurcher. I can brush her teeth, no problem. And we call them pearls. And we say to her, "Where's your pearls?" And the next thing she'll show you her pearls like this. You know,
Yeah.
they're gas. They're just so cute, so cute.
And how did you get involved, or how did you hear about well, we all know from raheny, people from raheny
Yes,
were all very proud of the hospice.
absolutely.
And when I drive by it, I kind of feel good that I'm able to drive by it.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm
Yes.
grateful that I'm able to drive by it, because there's people in there that
They're far younger than us,
you
than
know,
you and
and-
I. Yes.
and so when did you volunteer, or how did it come about?
When I was growing up, my mum had a very good friend on the avenue near Kilbarrack Road, St. Margaret's Avenue, and her name was Una O'Connell, and she was my mum's best friend, and she had two boys, both a little bit older than myself and my sister, and we kind of grew up together, but her boys grew up and went off, and one is living in England and one is living in Australia now. But Una got very sick, must be about 16, 17 years ago, and she was nearly my second mammy.
Okay.
Not that she ever minded us or anything else, but she taught speech and drama when speech and drama wasn't really recognised way back when I was a kid. So she was all into, pronouncing your words properly, your posture, all this type of thing. And it really did stand to both my sister and I that we knew her, and she took a great interest in us. She would have loved to have girls, I think, and we were the next best thing.
Yes.
So she unfortunately got very ill, and she was in the Mater Hospital for quite some time, and she did have cancer, and she ended up in the hospice. And I went to see her quite frequently, not every day, but quite frequently, because her family were more important than me just jumping in, and my mum, of course. And I just was in awe with the place. And I thought, my God, the dignity and respect shown to people, because when you're in a hospital, you're lucky to get a bed, never mind to be shown all this lovely treatment. So I always said, God, if I ever have time, I'll do that. So in the early, it must be kind of about 2005, I went, applied for a volunteer role, and I was interviewed, and the clinical nurse manager at the time, Mary Condon, who still is a nurse in the hospice, interviewed me with another lady, Bernadette Farrington, who's a healthcare assistant. And the next week I was told, could I start? And I said, well, what do I do? Yeah. So the fact that I had a lot of administration experience working in the bank, I was put in the inpatient unit reception in raheny. And then my role grew from there. And it's just, I'm just absolutely amazed by the work that they do, and there isn't a high turnover in staff. And what I love most of all is that the care the hospice give to their volunteers and their staff, with training. And if you get too involved with the patient, naturally it's going to upset you, but all you have to say is, look, I feel so sad about James or Joan or whoever it would be, and somebody will take you aside and talk to you
Yes.
and say, look, there's boundaries, but they'll understand your position.
Yes.
So you eventually learn that what you see and what you talk about and what you feel in there stays in there.
Yes.
And then you just go and do your best while you're there. And as I said, then I was involved with the fundraising, and I used to love that because it was a challenge.
Yes.
And so many people would come up to you then and ask you about, so-and-so is in there, and, do they need volunteers, or is there, what way can I give an anonymous donation or whatever? And people are so good and so kind. It's, when you think about it, like, we're fundraising now to hopefully in the next few years change the outlay or the way the hospice is in Raheny. We have a 19-bedded unit up there with 3 4-bedded rooms and 7 single rooms. But for infection control, and particularly now it's been shown up to us in relation to COVID, we need single bed rooms as they have in our other outlet in Blanchardstown. And so that's what the plan in action is. We're going to try and build a perhaps 20 plus single bedded ensuite rooms, for more dignity, for more privacy, and most of all to prevent more infection control, because the pandemic that we're just seeing, hopefully the end of now, I'd say is going to be the one of many in the future. So that's really what it will outline. And anyway, it does need a facelift, but there's a lovely atmosphere, there's just a lovely unity, and the ethos there, they've 7 wonderful words that they use in relation to dignity and respect, and that we all work together, and that we just have respect for one another as well. So there's no politics, there's nothing. You just go in and do your work and be with anybody. I was more involved with the inpatients previous to COVID, and everyone is an individual and every case is an individual, and you would come home and you'd say to yourself, my God, thanks be to God, I can go to bed tonight knowing that I probably will wake up in the morning, and I'm so lucky to be at this age of my life without having caught anything too serious.
Yes.
And as you say, John, you pass by there many days and you're saying, thank God I can drive by.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, because no matter who you are, what you are, where you come from, what you have or haven't got, it hits everybody.
Yeah.
And we've seen it. Like, we've seen it in the hospice. We've seen it from a lovely Hungarian man one time that was living in rented accommodation, had no family here at all, and had a massive tumour, and he was in a single room. And he had very good broken English, but I used to go to see him because I felt for him, and he loved the dog. Lou was only Lulu at the time coming up, and he passed away with nobody. You know. And then we had another lady, very young lady, breast cancer, 3 very young children, and the world, her family could have bought her the world, but it didn't matter because she didn't have her health, and unfortunately she did pass away. So it does make you, it grounds you, because no matter what you have, you realise, am I so lucky? And you thank God every day.
Now, and with the coffee shop across the road, which is a great addition, Kennedy's,
that's right.
Pre-COVID, but I'd have a coffee up there or a sandwich sometimes. And I'm always aware of trying to keep myself grounded and present in the moment. And we go to funerals every now and again, and you go to a funeral and you go, jeez, there he's only 45.
I know.
You kind of say, yeah, for about 2 weeks, and then off you go on your merry way again. Whereas I'd imagine walking in that place is grounding 24/7.
Totally.
Grounding. There's no planning, or you're in the moment.
You do. And I love gardening, and I absolutely, that's my solace. I don't listen to music, I just listen to nature and run everything through my mind. And it's at times like that I realise and I respect the smallest bit of moss growing through the stones, that I realise where it came from, what it's doing, what it's trying to do, how it's trying to survive. And it just brings you back to your own life. You know, we all come through hardships and we all have crosses to bear. But like, there's always worse off. Always worse off. So we just got to be, and it's lovely to be able to give back to, as I say, I've been fairly lucky in my life. As I say, I have 2 beautiful kids, and I'm very lucky to have my mum and Noel. And it's lovely to be able to give back and to be able to just share your luck, if you like, with other people. Yeah. And that's what I feel it does, and it helps me, and as I say, it keeps me grounded, because I could be flighty too. I could love to be going here, there and everywhere, and that my wings would have been clipped in the last year because of COVID. So it just helped me adjust. COVID hasn't really affected us that much, because except for travelling.
That's about
except for travelling. Yeah,
my life hasn't changed a whole lot, similar to yourself. I've my dogs, I've my family,
that's right.
I've the beach, fresh air, and COVID or no COVID,
you'd still be doing the same thing, except for maybe a bit of travelling. That's it. I used to travel a lot to the west of Ireland, and I'd bring some of the dogs, because I have a lot of friends and family, distant family down there. And okay, I don't do that now either, but other than that, really, no, I'm delighted. It's kind of, you're more familiar with your own surroundings now.
100%.
And you're are you only swimming since COVID?
No, I always kind of sea swam. Anyway. I've kind of, with the restrictions and stuff, I would have ventured further afield or whatever. But with the restrictions, it's kind of made you keep a bit closer to home. And then in winter time, it's kind of, I use Portmarnock shelters a lot, so it's kind of, if it's raining, you can get changed under there and stuff, rather than High Rock or somewhere like Dollymount that's a bit more exposed. You know.
Have you got one of those big fancy
I have
cloaks?
One of them big, and I rarely wear it. My wife bought it for me, and I kind of, every time I get out and I say, oh jeez, I should have put that on.
And is it warm? Is it?
They're lovely. They're lovely. It's like wearing a big sleeping bag.
Go away.
They're lovely, you know. And you get changed underneath it.
Oh, you can get changed. Oh, fabulous. I swam last year in the sea.
Brilliant.
We went down to West Cork, and it was a beautiful day. It was about 18 or 19 degrees. But my God, when I went into the water, the cobwebs that I'd been storing up were totally knocked off. It was freezing, because that was the Atlantic Ocean. But no, I think I'll keep my swimming for further afield. I prefer the warm water.
I like what we've just been speaking about, being in the present. Like when you get in sea swimming, and it's like, it doesn't matter what's going on around you.
You're helpless,
in the moment.
Really, aren't you?
You're in the moment.
You're thinking right from your toes to, can I take the next breath? I know, that's the way I was last year. But but it's fabulous. It's absolutely great, and particularly the salt water, and your skin and all feels great. It?
No, it's. And
would you do it daily or weekly?
I do it because I'm working at the moment. Maybe some evenings I might get down once during the week, but it's mostly a Saturday and a Sunday thing. Mostly Saturday and Sunday.
And does your oldest son now, Max, would he go with you?
He would come the odd time. He's kind of working on a Sunday, so I drop him to work on a Sunday. He works in Malahide, and then I just go down to Portmarnock straight after.
Great.
And then
Portmarnock is quite exposed to be swimming down there, isn't it?
It is, but the shelters, you know where the ice cream shop is up on top, the little triangular.
Yes.
So when you go down underneath there,
there's shelters
there, and they go right out. So even if it's raining, it doesn't really come in. So there is a little. Now, if there's a wind howling like south to west, which we get all the time, you wouldn't really be hanging around there a long time. Kind of dip, have a chat, and then go, you know.
And you do Christmas Day swims?
I do. I swim all year round. The coldest we had it down there, I think, was January, and I was nice and handy. The first time I've ever seen it, because we were running across ice on the sand to get into the sea. Wow. I've never seen it.
And do you wear little boots?
No, my wife does. I don't wear them.
She does swimming as well?
Yeah, she does as well.
Great,
she bought me a pair, but I haven't given in. She bought me a pair about 3 years ago, but I haven't given in and worn them yet. I have them there just if I ever need them. But I haven't.
And what did they say? Your feet and your hands. Do you wear the gloves?
I don't. She does as well. I kind of, this is my interpretation of it. I spend about 3 to 5 minutes in there.
Okay.
Because I want that feeling of euphoria and dopamine, and if I stay in there past that, I kind of
lose it. Yeah, you do.
If I get cold, 3 to 5 minutes, and that includes kind of from waist, walk in to out. I get under, I do my bit of breathing, I look at Ireland's eye, and concentrated breathing, and then I get back out, and I find that does me. A few times I spent 10 to 15 minutes in there when I wasn't aware, and sure, you're shaking for the day, and what's the point?
It's
you
gone
just
into
want
your
that
bones
immune system charge
Yeah.
and back out,
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than that making it feels like hard work.
Yeah.
You know?
No. As you say, you lose everything then, and you're cold for the day, so it's not worth it, you know.
That's
So yeah, the other thing I do, which is great, and I think I usually bring 1 or 2 of the dogs, usually Ellie, or I have another Bichon Poodle cross, also a rescue. She's about 6 or 7. Casey. I do a lot of hill walking with the. I got involved in it through another volunteer in the hospice, and he runs the CIE Retirement Hill Walking Club. And we've been away a few times, like the year before last we went to the Dolomites. Amazing holiday for 7 days. Lost a half a stone in the week with all the walking. And I wasn't too keen on the food either, because I'm not a big Italian food person. And it was the scenery and everything. It's like you're walking the Alps, and you're walking the Dolomites, and there was no snow because it's the beginning of September. It was just before the winter. But the Italian way of life, with the logs all stocked up for the whole winter, and just the scenery was just magic. But we walk usually in anywhere. We've gone to Monaghan, we've gone to up the north, up to Antrim and Tyrone and Armagh. We have been down south to the Beara Peninsula, the Waterford Way. We've gone to Achill. So, you know, we have a couple of weekends or 3 or 4 days during the week to walk with. Now, I wouldn't bring the dogs on those. It's only on the weekly daily walks on a Wednesday that I'd bring 1 or 2 of the dogs. And they're a lovely group as well. Most of them are retired, but there's a few my own age. Which, again, we've made some great friends, and, you know, we're involved in different things. So it's great to get out and see the beautiful countryside. But that unfortunately stopped then during COVID as well, because of the restrictions. But hopefully now, when the restrictions are lifted a little bit more, and I think when everyone has their second vaccine,
and I think
we'll be up and running.
At the moment, like, we've county travel, so inter-county travel. I'd imagine, like, when they discovered, they're learning a lot more about COVID now, that there's 0.000.1 chance of catching it outdoors, that they kind of will relax the outdoor stuff a bit more, rather than having places like Portmarnock jammed, or whereas if they open up everything outdoors,
it'd be more
and hill walking,
people would be more evenly distributed.
Around,
That's right.
Get people out into nature. We need more people out into nature and fresh air and walking,
and to respect it though as
well. 100%.
You know, to respect it, because you know, we have a lot of fox in the garden. Now you don't really see them that much. If you get up to go to the bathroom in the very early hours of the morning, you might catch 1 or 2. But the dogs, they get the scent of the dogs, and vice versa. But they're just beautiful creatures, absolutely beautiful creatures. And again, when we're out walking, we'd see deer, we'd see fox. We saw an otter there not too long ago. We see enough, particularly if you're doing the canal walks, like we've done the Grand Canal and the Royal Canal, and some of the birds on the on the canals.
The herons and the coots,
the kingfisher, the whole lot, fabulous.
And the swans, and you see everything.
Are beautiful. They're so just graceful. And then we walk a bit in Father Collins Park as well, but we found that, again, unfortunately, people are not respecting the park, and we usually go around, my daughter and I go on a Saturday or early Sunday morning, and we go early with the dogs, and we usually bring 2 plastic bags just to pick up the litter. Because again, you know, destroyed. It's fun. I think it's the young people drinking, because they're bottles and cans, and then these, I don't know what they're called, they're like large bullets, and I think they're some type of gas in them.
Okay, yeah.
They're getting their fling from that.
Yeah.
But they had to take the swans out of there. Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
No,
because they were being abused.
Oh, Janie,
stones and bottles and everything being thrown at them.
Janie,
so they had to take them out. So they still have the ducks and the what else have they got? The moorhens and then of course the seagulls.
Yeah,
they're taking over big time now. Don't talk to me about them. They're horrible.
Yeah.
But that's it.
So Claire, that was a lovely chat, and I seem to attract people like you into my life. Good people, and they have a great effect on me.
Good.
And when I started this podcast, I told you the reason I started it ages ago with people around, and I was like, I have to get Claire on that.
There you go.
I have to get Claire because.
Well, remind me to give you a few more names and contacts, and you can ring them and talk to them, and well and good if they're willing to do it for you. See, look at the blue tits now hanging from the birds.
We're looking at a lovely bird feeder here with a blue tit directly eating nuts in front of us.
Yeah.
Now it's,
how many have I got up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 8 or 9, I don't know.
But
But it's lovely because I have 2 birdhouses there, and I've had blue tits in this birdhouse here probably for the last 5 consecutive years. And I used to take it down in the spring, the very early spring, and clean it out.
Yeah.
But then I thought maybe I'm doing more harm than good. Let them make their nests there themselves. And then I had 2 beautiful white Samoyed dogs, again rescues, and their hair was just unbelievable. But what I used to do when I brushed them, I used to try and get all the fur together and clip it and put a clothes peg on it and put it on the line, and it would disappear.
Now I do, when I brush, I have this it's like a fine comb. It's called something.
Furminator, is it?
That's what it is.
Yes, I have them too.
And I use one on Dexter, and he loves it. Rhonda, I have to chase her around the place. She's not into it, but I use it. And when I put it outside, we have goldfinches.
Yes.
We've coal tits.
Really?
Yeah,
They're
we've
unusual.
blue tits.
Yeah.
The coal tits are a lot smaller, a lot darker.
That's right.
And you see them, they just absolutely
Dive
mill the
into
dog
it.
hair and gone.
Yeah.
Because
Because over the years, cutting hedges and that, when you'd start cutting them in August or September, you'd find the little nests and talk about the lap of luxury.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
hairs and everything.
Yeah, all sorts, yeah.
But again, it's all about nature. But look, it was lovely talking to you, and I was delighted to do this, John, and hopefully it'll inspire others along the way.
No.
To get a bit of their time, because it is important. 1, I think animal cruelty. 2, to respect nature, and 3, that if you can give back anywhere at all, even if it's only half day once a week, it's great, and it does you good. It's good for the old heart and the soul. Yeah. Really is.
Yeah. Claire, I can't end it any better than what you've just said there.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much for having a chat with me, and I really enjoyed that chat.
So did I, John.
And if you like this podcast, please share it around the place. Like our YouTube, Spotify, follow us. And Claire, thanks a million again.
Thank you, John. You take care and have a good day.
I'm going to switch this off now. Perfecto.